After a blow-up with her male best friend, she pulled me aside and said, "You need to apologize to him or this relationship is over." I just stared at her. Then she added, "He's been in my life longer than you, and he matters more." I didn't respond. I simply got in my car and left. 3 days later, she showed up outside my apartment, tears streaming, begging me to forgive her. I'm no storyteller, so bear with me here. Never imagined I'd be posting something like this, but recent events have me rethinking a lot, and I could use an outside opinion. For background, I'm a 43-year-old man, work as a general contractor, divorced 6 years ago, with one teenage daughter who lives with her mom. I've been with Allison, 39, for a little over a year. We met when I was remodeling the cafe she manages. The usual meet cute, she'd bring me coffee, we'd talk during my breaks, and eventually I asked her out. We clicked right away. Same sense of humor, both into the outdoors, both divorced with no rush to marry again. Things felt steady, comfortable, but not dull. At least, that's what I believed. Then there's Kevin, 41. Allison's best friend from college. She says they briefly dated back in their sophomore year, decided they worked better as friends, and have been close ever since. He was man of honor at her wedding and helped her through her divorce. He's a permanent fixture in her world. I've met him plenty of times over the past year, at game nights, cookouts, birthdays. He's always been fine. Not warm, but not openly hostile. Just watchful, like he's measuring me against some standard. I've tried to build a rapport, but he keeps a polite distance. Then came the night things unraveled. Allison hosted a casual dinner party. Nothing elaborate, a few friends, grilled steaks. I came early to help set up. Kevin was already there, in her kitchen like it was his own, mixing drinks and giving her cooking tips. I figured it was normal, given their history. The night started well, good food, easy conversation. After dinner, we moved to the deck. Someone mentioned politics, always risky. Kevin and I realized we stood on opposite sides of the fence. Neither extreme, just different views. We kept it civil, but the disagreement was clear. I wasn't aggressive, just answering questions, but each time I spoke, Kevin glanced at Allison, as if expecting her to correct me. When she didn't, his tone grew sharper. Eventually, after one patronizing remark, I said, "Look man, we can disagree without the attitude. We're adults, after all." You'd think I'd insulted him. His face flushed, and he turned to Allison. "Are you going to let him speak to me like that?" Before she replied, I said, "I'm talking to you, not her. And I'm just asking for basic respect." Kevin stood, drink in hand. "You don't know what you're talking about. You never have. Allison knows it too, she's just too nice to tell you." I looked at Allison, expecting her to de-escalate or stay neutral. Instead, she stared at Kevin like he might explode. "Kevin, he didn't mean anything by it," she said gently. "The hell I didn't," I said. "I meant exactly that, disagreement doesn't require disrespect." Silence fell. The guests looked uneasy. Kevin set down his drink slowly. "I think I'll head out. Call me later, Ollie." He left through the house, door slamming behind him. Allison immediately followed. I could hear murmurs but not the words. When she came back, her face was tight. "What was that about?" I asked. "Not now," she muttered, then forced a smile for the others. The rest of the night felt tense. After everyone left, I started cleaning. That's when Allison pulled me aside in the kitchen, arms crossed. "You need to apologize to Kevin," she said flatly. I almost dropped the plates in my hands. "Come again? You embarrassed him in front of everyone." I set the plates down slowly. "Allison, he was condescending. If anyone should apologize, it's him." She shook her head. "You don't understand. Kevin doesn't do well with conflict. He feels attacked." "And I feel disrespected," I replied. Has it ever occurred to you that your best friend might not like your boyfriend? That's not true, she said, but her eyes slid away. He's just protective. Protective? I'm not a threat to you. And even if I were a threat, you're an adult capable of making your own choices. She shifted uneasily. Look, it's simple. You either apologize to him or we're finished. I stared at her, not fully believing what I'd just heard. You're giving me an ultimatum? Over a disagreement with your buddy? That's when she dropped the line that cut deeper than anything else. He's been here longer than you, and he's more important. The sentence seemed to hang in the air like smoke. It wasn't just the words, it was the casual certainty with which she said them, like it had been obvious all along. I didn't yell. Didn't plead. Just stood there for a moment, letting the truth settle, the truth about where I really stood. Then I picked up my keys from the counter, walked out to my truck, and drove off. She called after me, but I didn't turn around. By the time I got home, my phone was lighting up with messages from her. Where did you go? We need to talk. You're overreacting. Please come back so we can discuss this. I powered the phone down and went to bed. Slept better than I expected for someone whose relationship had just cracked wide open. The next morning, there were a dozen missed calls and more texts. I read them but didn't reply. Went to work, focused on a bathroom remodel I'd been doing. Came home, watched a game, ordered a pizza. Life doesn't stop. By the third day, the calls slowed, but the texts grew more desperate. I wasn't avoiding her to punish her. I just needed space to think, to understand what this meant. That evening, a knock came at my door. I checked the peephole and saw her standing there, eyes red, clutching her purse like it was all she had left. For a moment, I considered not answering. But avoiding her felt like cowardice, and whatever else I might be, I'm not a coward. So I opened the door but stayed in the doorway. Can I come in? She asked softly. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, I need to explain. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She took her place on the couch, the same one where we'd watched movies, where she'd fallen asleep against me, where lazy Sunday mornings had turned into afternoons. Now she seemed like someone I barely knew. I'm sorry, she began. What I said was awful. I didn't mean it. You did, I answered quietly. That's why it hurt. Her tears started then, running through smudged makeup. I've known him so long, he's like family. I can't lose him. I get that, I said. What I don't get is why keeping him means losing me. Why can't it be both? It can, she insisted. I was just upset. You and he are the most important men in my life. I sat in the armchair across from her instead of next to her, leaving space. No. I'm not, I said. You made that clear. And that's fine, you're free to decide who's first in your life. But so am I. And I can't stay with someone who treats me like I'm optional. You're not optional, she cried. Do you love me? I asked. Or do you love how I fit into your life when Kevin approves? Because the moment I upset that balance, you were ready to walk away. She had nothing to say to that. Has he always disliked me? I asked finally. Or only after things between us got serious? She looked at her hands. He's afraid you'll hurt me, like my ex did. So he made himself your self-appointed guardian, and you've let him. It's not like that, she said weakly. Isn't it? Tell me the truth, has he ever liked anyone you dated? Her silence told me all I needed to know. I deserve better, I said. And so do you. A real friend wouldn't make you choose. A real friend would want you happy, even if that meant sharing your time. Her crying deepened. She told me she'd had a big fight with Kevin after I left. That it opened her eyes to issues in their friendship she'd been ignoring for years. That she wanted us to try again. Part of me wanted to give in. To pull her close and say we'd figure it out. But the part that remembered her cold certainty about who mattered more kept me grounded. I think we need space, I said. I have to decide if I can be in something where I'll always come second. And you need to decide if you can be in something where you're not always deferring to him. She left reluctantly, after making me promise I'd at least think about it. I said I would. And I have. It's been 5 days now. Allison still messages daily, not pushing, just checking in. Apparently, Kevin is livid with her for choosing me over him, even though she hasn't actually made that choice. Simply questioning how their friendship works was enough to set him off. Yesterday her sister called me, saying she's been warning Allison for years that her relationship with Kevin wasn't healthy. That he's never wanted a romantic relationship, but couldn't tolerate seeing her with anyone else. That this has played out the same way with every boyfriend since college. I'm not sure what I'll do. Part of me loves her and thinks we could fix this. Another part knows patterns this old are stubborn. She's had 2 decades to normalize this strange dependency. For now, I'm taking it slow, reminding myself I'd rather be alone than be treated as a backup option. I'll update if anything major changes. Thanks for reading. Edit. Woke up to hundreds of comments. I appreciate the advice and support. A few answers to common questions. 1. No, I don't think she and Kevin are sleeping together. This isn't about intimacy, it's about control. 2. Some people think I abandoned her at the dinner party. I left after the guests had gone, once she'd made my place in her priorities clear. I didn't cause a scene or leave her stranded. 3. Were there warning signs? Looking back, yes. Kevin constantly texted her, even when we were together. She always replied right away. He had opinions on everything, restaurants, weekend plans, even whether I was right for her. And once he even showed up at a weekend trip we'd planned, claiming he just happened to be nearby, despite living 2 hours away. 4. Some say I'm being too harsh. Maybe. But I'd been in a relationship where I wasn't a priority, my marriage. It took years of therapy to regain my self-worth after that. I won't repeat the mistake. 5. And no, we never lived together. She has her own place, which is why she knocked on my door instead of already being there. We'd talked about moving in together someday, but it wasn't imminent. Update, 10 days later, Allison and I met for coffee yesterday. Neutral spot downtown. She looked worn out but resolute. She began by saying she'd been reflecting a lot on her friendship with Kevin. After our fight, she started noticing how often he shaped her decisions. How he would stir up drama when her attention was elsewhere. How she'd been conditioned to put his feelings first, even above her own. She showed me texts from him after their argument. Manipulative guilt trips about her throwing away 20 years of friendship for some contractor. Reading them made my stomach turn. That's not friendship. It's emotional control. She admitted Kevin had disliked every man she'd dated. Had interfered with relationships. Had even told her ex-husband private things to cause trouble. And she'd always forgiven him. Always kept him first. I don't want to live like that anymore, she told me. She's already booked her first therapy session. I told her I respected her for recognizing it, but that I needed to protect myself too. We agreed to take it slow, casual dates, no pressure, while she works on herself. Kevin, of course, escalated. When emotional withdrawal didn't work. He tried to charm offensive, showing up at her work, sending flowers, acting like the perfect friend. To her credit, she's held firm. She told him they need distance, and that any future friendship would have to look completely different. I'm hopeful, but realistic. Some people say I should run, I understand. But I also see how hard she's trying to break free from this unhealthy dynamic. That matters. I'll update when there's more. Update, 1 month later. Things have shifted. Allison's been steady with therapy and kept boundaries with Kevin, who alternates between affection and anger. Typical manipulator behavior. The breaking point came when he showed up drunk at her apartment, pounding on the door and accusing me of brainwashing her. She called the police. They removed him, and she filed for a restraining order the next day. It hurt, but it was clarifying. She said it was like seeing the full picture for the first time. She's reconnecting with friends she'd drifted from during Kevin's hold on her. His possessiveness had quietly isolated her for years. As for us, we're dating again, carefully. I've joined her in a therapy session to better understand how to support without controlling. The therapist compared breaking a codependent tie to leaving a cult, slow, careful, and deliberate. Kevin is now trying to turn mutual friends against her. It's working on a few, but most see through it. Some have even apologized for staying silent before. Still, a few people have taken his side, which she says is painful but revealing. His workplace has also stepped in after he contacted her there repeatedly. HR helped block his emails and alert security about the restraining order. I'm impressed with her resilience. Facing down toxic bonds isn't easy, especially old ones. Whether or not we last forever, I'm glad we've both learned about boundaries and self-respect. For those who think I should have just apologized, this was never about politics, it was about a deep imbalance between our relationship and her dependence on him. Sometimes walking away is the only way to break the cycle. Final update: 6 months later, we're still together, and better than before. Therapy has helped her spot and change other patterns beyond Kevin. The restraining order expired, but he's mostly stayed away. He's tried to rewrite the story to mutual friends, but few believe him. Those who saw his behavior know the truth. Allison's apologized more than once for what she said that night, but I've told her that actions matter more. And her actions have shown she's committed to a healthy, respectful relationship. We're moving in together next month. This step feels right now, it wouldn't have before. We've had disagreements, but we handle them as equals, without outsiders pulling strings. Someone once commented, "You can't compete with history." Maybe. But this was never about competition, it was about recognizing that not all history is worth holding on to. 2. Sometimes, the longest connections are the most toxic. Thanks to everyone who encouraged us through this. Knowing your worth and standing firm can be the best self-care, and sometimes, it gives others the courage to do the same.